Trouble in paradise. The rapture, the high table continues as State House and the Houses of Parliament trade accusations over bribery and corruption. The rapture is as sudden as any other seismic activity, especially along the volatile tectonic plates that hold Kenya's political landscape. We remain on the corruption Richter scale. And earlier today, Rigathi Gachagua returned from the United States to a mixed reception of goons and supporters. And not a single word from the former deputy president, who, while away, engaged his opponents in an intercontinental ballistic contest. So why the silence? We listen to the ground. And speaking of the ground, Sam Sense is on an empowerment listening tour. Bonya's Bone rummages the closet for bones in Speaker Wetangula's custody. Jamila's memo revisits Chapter 6 of the Constitution for both State House and Parliament. On Kai Kai's kicker, why it's time for the state capture inquiry promised in 2022. And on my take, who is darker? The big debate between the pot and the kettle. The news gang continues.
The latest Soko Huru in the Senate. Where does somebody find 150 million? Where? Is that his money? That is money that belongs to the county. Is that correct or not correct? Yes.
And there is a common saying that when the hyena wants to eat its children, it says they smell like goats. So we need...
And welcome back. We're back with the gang, still speaking on this matter of corruption that is now the big talk of town. You know, just as we're listening to what was which is when the members of Parliament passed that bill into law, despite the fact that there were protests outside, because this, according to them, was the right thing to do. But very interestingly, days later after the protests, the president then declines to sign the bill, goes back on it. And this is when he had members of Parliament at State House. And what were they all doing? Very happily applauding and clapping when he went against the bill that they passed in Parliament a couple of days before, you know, in the environment of protests. And that's not the only bill, especially that has been in government's favor, that has been passed. I think, Jamila, you'd alluded to this earlier. So it's very interesting that you have a parliament that has essentially, for the last couple of years, done the bidding of the executive. Then to have that very same executive come and accuse them of corruption, you then start to ask the question, okay, what is going on here? Is it in fact a sort of tacit admission on the part of the executive that this is what was being done, this is how and why those bills were being passed in the House at such breakneck speed? I mean, even take a look at, for instance, and that is a matter that is in court, so I don't want to canvass too much about it, the impeachment of the now former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, things that you see happening very fast. All of these things that were happening, which were to the benefit of the executive, and now it's the same executive that comes and turns on them and says, well, hey, there's corruption. You know, what's happening here? And I think that's the reason we were asking around this table just what is going on and why this, why now, and why does it look like a political mudslinging contest about who can say what and who can prove. We will not name them, we will not shame them, but we'll have them arrested. Jamila?
In fact, you talk about them, they started mapema sana with this administration. Remember, after the elections and the president being sworn in, how many members of parliament trooped to KK? One of the ones who had won an independent, wakaenda. Right. Some of those smaller parties, I think like UDM, wakaenda. joining this coalition and having all these numbers. Kiasi cha kwamba there was this whole push and pull about which of the two sides had the more members of parliament. But walianza mapema Yvonne, and you give instances when you call it pliability of these members of parliament. Kizungu kubwa kubwa Yvonne utawacha. But the point is this, it got worse with the broad-based arrangement. They got more numbers and they're able to pass more bills into law. But then, Yvonne, I'm looking at it from the point of view of Kenyans. When they watch this happening, I said it's like they look at it as a tennis match. So for them, they're waiting to see, well, this marriage is shaky. Kuna huyu anajua siri ya huyu mwingine. Everyone knows where the skulls are buried. And people really want names. They want information. They want kufichuliwa. Like, okay, these are the amounts of money that was given to committee A, B, C. And this was the money that was given to the executive. And this was what the consequence of this was. It was money to pass a bill. It was money to clear someone. Tupatiwe details. Because Waswahili husema fahali wawili wakipigana nyasi ndio huumia. In this instance, nyasi watakaumia ni wao wenyewe, the two that are fighting, which is the executive and parliament. But when you listen to them, and I hope we have the sound bites of the MP's reaction, maybe you can keep it ready for me, Robert. They were saying a lot of things but saying nothing. Because there was nothing direct being said to the executive. Walikuwa nasema tu vitu mingi, alafu pia there's this thing about how you say it. You sound angry, you're speaking in a loud voice, you sound like nimekasirika, but really, if you look very closely, there's nothing of substance that's being said. I think the one person who said something that sounded, okay, kuna kitu hapa, was the chair of the Senate Public Accounts Committee, I think Senator Kajwang, who said, well, the president should come and substantiate what he has said. Yeah. It cannot be a kangaroo court and things like that. But if you listen to members of parliament who were speaking in parliament the day before yesterday, in my opinion, hakuna kitu walikuwa nasema chama na ama cha uzito wowote. I think we should listen to them.
The alleged inducement. Number 3, what was the purpose of the inducement?
How many pipes are leaking government revenue to private pockets? Do your work as members of parliament. Let us call them out. Let us take the war to them.
It must be that they want to salvage their political aspirations at the expense of the members. They must have realized that many members perhaps are unpopular, and so they want to throw them under the bus.
If you're the president, you know those who are stealing. Why don't you arrest them? Why do you come to tell us? What do I have to do with it? You are the president. You are saying you want to fight corruption. And you know those who are stealing. What are you waiting for?
If it is corruption everywhere, and it must be fought in that manner. But if you want to make it sectional, Mr. Speaker, then you lose the war on corruption.
For the president to come and explain who are those people who are demanding bribes? Who are those people who are given bribes? Because you cannot try parliament in a kangaroo court.
We know each other, and I know what transpired even 30 minutes ago. And I think it's good the public know what happened and Isiolo people know what happened.
Anasema tunajuana. Tunajuana sote tulioko hapa tunajuana. But I think ultimately, as I finish, the one thing this whole mudslinging has told Kenyans is this. Viongozi wenu ni wafisadi. That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Tunakumbuka sema demand, supply, nini. Yeah. Iko kitu hapo hivyo.
Interesting that you say that, because the irony even of the president talking about people receiving 10 million shillings, ironically, to pass an anti-money laundering bill. Honestly, sometimes these jokes write themselves. Huh?
But you see, there's a difference between laundering and dry cleaning, isn't there?
Is that really? Well, all of them result.
Laundry is dry cleaning 2.0.
All of them result in washing and whatever it is. But that's the irony. And I think, like Jamila says, okay, so now when Fatuma
Dulo
says, we all know what happened, including 30 minutes ago?
Yeah.
That's names, yeah.
Well, okay. Then, so should we send everybody home, the executive and parliament? Like, what are we saying here? And I think maybe like Jamila, you were saying, what is it that they're saying that we don't already know? What fire are we shouting? Mm-hmm. The House has been on fire for a long time. We've all known it's been on fire for a long time. So what sort of revelations are these now? Oh, you're corrupt, I'm corrupt. Who's more corrupt? Is it you? Is it me? Is it, where does this leave us, Jay?
Strategic incoherence.
Who has the big English now?
No, simple. Because what in all this noise, what are these guys trying to say? Because it is very obvious that this parliament has done more bidding for the executive than any other parliament that has sat. That individually, they will admit to you the shenanigans that goes on, especially when they're trying to push critical government bills. And even for some of them, it is very lucrative when bills come from the majority side, because they know ultimately we will be induced to pass it. So this is what makes it very interesting, Yvonne, that if you speak to a number of former MPs, they admit to it. They're only shocked at the value, that the value has now gone up. If you listen to some of them that were hosted on this very desk in the course of the week, they were admitting that these things happen. It's only that the size of the check has gone up. So it's a tradition in Parliament. And therefore, it doesn't really look good when all these MPs are foaming at the mouth and saying, name them, tell this. No. Like Linus initially said, this is a very strategic opportunity for the country to address this now. Let us engage. Let us speak about it. The president has made a very bold statement, which is akin to belling the cat. Now let the process move. So, 10 million was requested. From who? Did you receive the money? Who gave the money? And who was it supposed to be taken to so that the rest receives it? So that is the starting point, that he knows from raw intelligence that MPs or senators received some 150 million. That raw intelligence has got bits and pieces so that he's able to consume it with ease. So he knows who is this that dished the money, who received, and Fatuma Dulo, the senator, says it very clearly. If you look at some of the things that these MPs were writing on their social media posts, that let's stop this pretense, we have done it before. So what we ultimately need to work on is let people try and be honest.
Honesty,
let them be very honest.
Yeah, and I guess that's where we are. So, but where do we go from here, and what is it then that that happens going forward? There's been an attempt at saying, I think what we've all said around this table, that take this forward beyond allegations back and forth. There was that task force. In less than 24 hours, somebody went to court. And Sam, that way forward, does that present something? But then there was all these members of this task force, what they were supposed to do rather generally, but all the members of these are actually people who should be fighting corruption as a crime anyway.
I was hoping I would get a chance to say something about the raw intelligence, because we may not have access to the raw intelligence, but at least we have access to raw material or raw information that comes on a different
and
platform.
artificial intelligence.
Wow. So exactly the point that Fatuma Dulo, the Senator of Isiolo, was trying to make, maybe we can listen to her in fuller detail of exactly what she was describing. She was actually stopped by the Speaker of the Senate.
Know each other, and I know what transpired even 30 minutes ago. And I think it's good the public know what happened, and Isiolo people know what happened. Mr. Speaker, Soko Huru is taking over this house, and I must say this. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
You cannot impute improper motive on your colleagues. If you want to proceed in that manner, you know what to do. Substantive motions.
Right. So for me, I take an interest in the word, Soko Huru, because then President William Ruto talks about Soko Huru at the Senate. He raises questions, how does a governor find 150 million shillings? I do not know whether those two markets are related, but at least you can see recurrence of the word Soko Huru. At the same time, the other raw information that we have gotten is from a member of the same house, that is Senator John Nyoto, who appeared on Citizen TV earlier this week, and he appeared to suggest that during the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, money changed hands.
Swear before God and Kenyans today that she did not receive 10 million shillings. Swear before God.
Yes.
Swear before God. Swear before God.
Yes.
You know how you swear before God?
Yes.
The Bible. That you didn't receive 10 million.
Because these are frustrations. We
don't say that we are
can't help him. That
don't want
process
to be
was done. That process
what help would you give me? I would not need any help from you.
I didn't say I'm giving.
But don't say I'm disappointed.
But you
Senator
are.
Tabitha, you received 10 million Kenya shillings.
Did you give me
Swear
anything?
before God.
Did you give me anything?
Swear before God. I'm not the one who was given.
It is sad.
I'm not liquidated. See, you said we are not liquidated.
It's so sad.
I'm not liquidated.
This guy actually
if
talks
I was,
about
I would have given it to you. So don't say I'm
No, I don't
frustrated.
need it.
Swear before God, Senator Tabitha, and people that you, Senator Tabitha Mutinda, did not receive 10 million Kenya shillings.
I,
Impeach
Senator, did not
Rigathi
receive
Gachagua.
anything.
Say in the name of God.
Yes.
Don't say yes, say in the name of God.
Just manage your frustrations.
What frustration?
Just manage your frustrations.
I was not impeached. What a frustration
Just
would I
move on.
manage?
Just move forward.
So
Kenya moved forward.
To where?
Okay. Now, I must say that was a difficult session to...
How did you keep it?
Yeah. Did you have a
keep
Bible?
yourself
Exactly.
together?
Let's also listen to...
You want to swear?
I want to call an absent of another member of parliament, Robert Mbui, who referred to the same situation of the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua.
We had this impeachment motion against the former deputy president. And money did change hands. People were paid to sign.
How much was it?
100, 200,000.
For the signature?
Yes, for the signature. And those who voted were also given money. This is 100, 200,000. There are many members who actually got money. So the only thing is that they will not agree to it, but we know that they were given money.
Signature was 100 to 200,000.
Yes, actually, the signature was 100,000. But some members were clever. They signed at the majority leader's office and went to the minority leader's office and signed again, so they got twice. But all the same, what I'm saying is that actually money did change hands. You know, some of these things that we are pretending are real, and sometimes
this multi-agency team for the simple reason that you have the EACC, which is an independent institution. You have the Office of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions incorporated in that team. But all these institutions are supposed to be led by the Office of the President. So there are questions that emerge on what is the independence of EACC when it appears in such a forum. I want to reference what happened in the year 2022 in the lead up to the general election of August 2022. You recall there was a team that was created by the executive then that was supposed to coordinate the preparations for the elections. And it was supposed to be chaired by Chief Justice Martha Koome. Membership was to include IEBC itself, and Wafula Chebukati was supposed to sit there as a representative. So you can imagine a government coming together to come up with a team to coordinate the preparations for the elections. At a time, you know that it's only IEBC that has the mandate to prepare for elections. And at the time, Wafula Chebukati, the late, who was chairperson of the commission, came out and
around the COVID pandemic offices, and then I thought, let me go upstairs and see what's there. And voila, there were tenders, and I applied and I got one, and those were tenders worth billions of shillings in certain instances. And I remember at the time it was being chaired by, then chair of the PAC, Abdul Samad Sharif, and it was spectacle, right? Let's beware of spectacle, because this could end up being that. In fact, if, Sam, what you're saying is, surely the President would be advised that the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is independent and cannot be co-opted into such a task force, that the EACC cannot be co-opted into this because it's essentially usurping their roles and powers given to them under the Constitution. So what is all this for? So, yeah, funny, okay, haha, look, it's 150, it's 200, but let's just not get taken in. And I think for me, that's That's the most important thing with all of this, that we just look at it and say, wow, tisk, tisk, ay, 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 oh, wow. And then we move on, and there is no action that comes out of this. And sometimes you ask yourself, what was happening before this? What's happening during? And what might happen after?
Because even there was no build-up, it just happened.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, think about this, and, you know, let's keep our eyes on the prize, because, you know, this is what you do. You dangle a carrot and then, or vile unasema unamwaga mtama kule kuna kuku, and all you do is just, you know, focus on that and not on the big picture. Linus?
You're right, and the one thing that should not be missed is the rare opportunity. I said earlier that for the first time, the real suspects in grand corruption are having an argument. And that is very, very rare. This opportunity and moment should not be missed. Both houses are vulnerable. There is enough debt on both ends of this exchange. So these two teams are at the dumping site, and they are digging up in a very interesting way. And dig they should, for the sake of the country, because we'll get to know quite a number of things that ought to be known. But I was looking at the whole thing in context, starting with the president. Is it that probably the president finally came to the realization that the one greatest impediment facing Kenya today is grand corruption? Could he have come to the realization that you cannot develop Kenya and have corruption at the same time? It's one or the other. You can't have both. Because if you look at the relationship of this president and the two parliaments, is it two, or actually this should be the third now? Because in my view, the rain really started beating us hard in 2013. That is when the real decline of the political culture in this country worsened. There was a decline before, but now it worsened in 2013 because our politics became openly transactional. It's completely transactional, it's financial. Look, from 2013, who becomes MP is the highest bidder. You've heard stories about who becomes president. You just need to look at what the current new aspirants are being told. If you don't have 5 billion, don't even think about it. Why? Because of the political culture that matured in 2013 with the new generation of old KANU politicians coming to the scene and placing money at the center of leadership. So it's coming to bite everyone, because this National Assembly and this Senate is made up of that culture, where money is the alpha and omega of the political career. You either, if you don't have it, you can't run. If you don't have it, you can't sustain, or you can't be re-elected. And let's face it, this has put tremendous pressure on these politicians, which is why corruption is on a grand scale, because they are busy looking for the extra money. And what they have done is to make even their business transactional. You saw the confessions, because let's take them as confessions, on Sam's Daybreak segment. Money first. You want a bill to be passed?
Pay.
Pay. You want impeachment? Pay. You want to avoid impeachment? Pay. So this is why I'm saying this opportunity should not be missed.
Yeah.
The opportunity not just to talk about graft, but also to confront the unsustainable culture of corruption in our politics and money in our politics. I need to say this because this parliament, for many times, operated out of the tents at State House. parliamentary group meetings in State House. So is it possible that President Ruto is tired of running the feedlot? Yeah, because it's not sustainable. They'll come and eat again and take and pick and so how many bills can you fund? You had his frustration saying 10 million was taken for the money laundering bill. I think looking at the number of pieces of legislations you need to run through a term, mid-term his first term, I think President Ruto is possibly tired of running the feedlot because of transactional politics. So it'll be really nice for the country to have a wholesome conversation about the political culture and change this political culture. Let this be the last generation of politicians, members of parliament, presidents, and other positions to run leadership this way. Now we know it's not sustainable. If they themselves cannot agree, then if they themselves can find it unsustainable, then this is the time to say, can we draw a line as a country and say this political culture must change?
Yeah, I mean, they say there's no honor among thieves, but I want to ask you about that meaningful conversation where we then have some meaningful outcomes. Because this is a conversation that's happening, like you say, between two people who are accusing each other or, you know, the prime suspects in this. So what's this wholesome conversation and how do we move this from talk and all of this ping-pong match to something that actually, like you say, draws the line in the sand and says, okay, things will be different from here? Because I think the concern is that we'll just talk, and then, because, you know, we've been shocked, billions of shillings and this scam and that one. It's becoming part of our lingo now.
Look, I think we are on delayed listening mode as a country. Because what President Ruto is doing now and saying now is exactly why the Gen Zs were on the streets last year. These were the things they were saying that we don't understand. You're displaying watches and shoes and you're calling that leadership. You are going to churches and giving millions and saying that is leadership. They started this debate. Let's not forget it, that the real trigger to all that we are seeing right now, that conversation already started in the streets last year, precisely on the 18th of June, 2024. So, because we are on this delayed listening, that's why, by the way, has there been any progress in this country between the last protests and now? We are a country that has this political tension going on. There's some uncertainty that has been present, and persistent since that time, because we are not addressing these issues. So the political class needs to now that they are talking, now you are sounding like the Gen Zs. This is what they were saying. They were saying money cannot be the center of your leadership and politics. They were saying corruption cannot be the method of leading the country. And so the conversation really, Yvonne, had started. Now, we had the former Prime Minister talking about intergenerational change, intergenerational conclave. Here are the issues. They are all on the table. Let's discuss our political culture. Let's discuss the place of integrity and leadership in governance. Let's discuss why the youth went to the streets last year. That conversation is actually on. It's only that the politicians come in and walk out depending on the time that it presses the foot.
I think, Yvonne, we need to be honest with ourselves as a country. You know, we keep saying, oh, cancer is corruption is a cancer in the fabric of the Kenyan society. We repeat it so many times. But I think one of the root causes of our problems is that we have an inability or an unwillingness as a society to hold those who are corrupt accountable. Because our record of fighting corruption is flimsy at best, Yvonne. It's very rare, especially for the high and mighty. You know, that big man syndrome, that kama ni mwizi wetu. We accompany them to Integrity Center and clapping and shouting and saying, mtu wetu anaonewa. It's the petty offenders, the chicken thieves, the handbag stealers, the handbag snatchers. Those are the ones who get swift justice. But those with influence, wale wenyewe, they walk free, wave at crowds, and in some cases they run for office and win. So when you're talking about how there's zero tolerance to corruption, what is zero tolerance to corruption? It's a very high standard. But you need to mean, that it needs to mean what it says. It's no exceptions. But we've normalized the abnormal, electing and celebrating individuals with active corruption cases, and we turn a blind eye to them so long as they throw us crumbs, a few handouts, a slogan. Unajua, anazungumza lugha yangu. He's from my community. So it doesn't matter if he's been accused of a crime and he's been taken to court. Before the elections last year, there was a whole list of aspirants who were flagged as having either cases, having been involved in corruption, not having the required education certificates or qualifications. But nearly all of them were allowed to run. They were clear to run. And some of them did win. And they're sitting in those public offices. And I think if we as a people don't decide to treat corruption as a deal breaker, especially at the ballot, nothing is going to change. Because even when you divert funds, you diverted 2 million shillings or 2 billion shillings, that money doesn't just disappear. It steals classrooms. It steals teachers' salaries. It steals a hospital that's supposed to have been built. It steals madawa, medical equipment. It steals that road that would have been better built, but it was purely built. Accidents happen. Repairs cost more, but lives ikienda zimeenda hivyo. And then we bring those same leaders back because they gave us 200 shillings at a rally. Tunawarudisha tena. We need to make it a deal breaker at the ballot that if you are involved in corruption, we are not going to elect you. Otherwise, politicians will continue talking. They'll do nothing. They'll just be doing whatever they want behind the scenes. When they come to us, they lie to us. We'll vote them in, and we'll all go back to the status quo. Pali tulikuwa, hakuna mabadiliko. Yeah.
Time for perhaps a deeper conversation. We want to still talk about this some more, including the return of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. We've got more to say on this matter as well. So where do we go from here? How do we have a deeper conversation? How do we have some change around this? And indeed, what does the political landscape look like now? The Deputy President says he's back in the country earlier than scheduled because there is a set of by-elections that are coming up. We will take a look at what's been happening on that front as well. This is News Gang.